Okay, at 7 p.m., we'll bring this Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Matt, can you call roll, please?
All members are present apart from Seth Everett.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, well, tonight, let me just briefly explain what's going to transpire this evening, and thank you for coming out. We have partnered Romanelli and Hughes, been working with the village for a couple of years now, and they like us so much they're coming back for more. Is that right, Jim? The Black Hawk Golf Course has been a curiosity and a question for many, many years. There's been apparently quite a few potential buyers, and we've all heard many rumors about those buyers, but it's solidified into a place in the process where I asked the Romanelli team to come before zoning commission and our residents as early as possible to at least share the concept plan with our residents and with our zoning commission. And they graciously agreed to do that tonight. Just so you know where we're at in this whole process, we haven't even really started the zoning process. We have not received a formal application to zoning from Romanelli and Hughes because they're still working through the design and the concept. And with that being said, we really wanted them to come in and kind of show us where they were in the process. So I just will make sure people know that. So when they're working through the overview with us, I just want you to understand we don't have anything to publish. We don't have anything to put on the website, and we won't have that until we have a formal application in front of us. When that happens, we'll make sure it's published to our website. In terms of the process, the way we built the agenda is to have the Romanelli team present first, field questions from the zoning commission, and then following that time, we'll invite people to come forward for questions. When that time does come, I'll provide instructions on how we're going to do that. I also want you to know that I did see this plan on Friday. I was invited in to see it, myself and Tom Marshall. I believe we're the only two folks that have seen this plan. So a lot of my questions have already been addressed. So I may have a few, but probably not hundreds like I typically do. And with that, I think we'll invite Jim forward. Thank you.
And then we're going to sit in those chairs afterwards for questions, I think is what we're going to do. I don't So Jim Olin with Romanelli and Hughes. Really excited to be here again, but really excited to talk about Black Hawk. This is a project I will say has been near and dear to my heart. I went back and I think we have concept plans on this dating back as far as 2017. So done a lot of stuff on this. I think you're really, really going to be impressed with the amount of time and effort we put in. Again, we talked about it, just a sketch plan, but we're moving down the process. From a team standpoint, if you were here for Arrowhead, similar team. We've got EMH and T who's not here today. They're going to be our engineers on the site. Gary Smith with G2 Planning did a lot of work for us on Arrowhead, doing a lot of work here on Black Hawk. And then we've added a new member to our team, Chris Myers with Myers and Associates. And we really brought Chris on for the vision of what we call our neighborhood gathering center. Chris has done projects throughout the United States and actually throughout the world. So he brings a very unique perspective on this, and I really think you're going to be impressed with what he's come up with. We've leaned on him heavily in terms of this presentation to come up with. You know who Romanelli Hughes is. You know what we're capable of. We'll go a little bit over that with the housing stock that we plan on building here. It'll be a Romanelli and Hughes signature community. And then really the bulk of this is about the gathering center, as I'll say, the what's in it for Galena. So again, today is a sketch plan review. We are not dialed in. What we're really here for is we're looking for feedback. We're looking for, hey, here's the things we like, here's the things we don't like. From a design standpoint, we have boxes. It's what are we going to put in those areas, and really what is the vision of Galena, and how does this match up with what everybody wants? So I think that's really the bulk of it is. I think from a presentation standpoint, Chris is going to do the most of the presentation today, and then Gary, I, and Chris are all going to be up there to answer questions and kind of dial in and address some of your questions and concerns as we go through. So I think, to me, I'm really excited about this. I think Chris has done a great job. I think you're going to be excited as well. So sit back and enjoy.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I've known Jim for probably 20 years, and for probably the last 10, I've heard him talk about this project. So he finally wore me down, and I said I'd love to help you on it. But also hearing about the recent success that he's had in your community, it makes this that much more special. So tonight, what we're really doing is we're sharing with you a concept. This is the very beginning stages. It's really the first view, I think, for most. And what we're seeking is really your feedback. You're going to see some things I hope you love. You're probably going to see some things you might not love. And the process we go through is really engaging heavily with the community to really make sure we're making something that's successful for everyone. If we can go to the first slide. Oh, I get to... Oh, I'm going to mess that up. Okay, might be tough to read from the back row, but there's a couple of key points we want to touch on. So Blackhawk is just over 150 acres. It's 154 to be exact, surrounded by existing roads. I'm sure you're all familiar with the location. But there's 4 key points that we're really identifying as sort of the beginnings of this project. The first is the collaboration with Romanelli and Hughes. Now, having gone through a recent development with them, you understand their pedigree and their credentials. But this is a 56-year-old company that's based here in Central Ohio, has enormous success with very high-quality residential development, and I think you're going to see that in the characteristic of a lot of the architecture and the buildings. The second thing that is a really important attribute for this property is over 35% of it is being dedicated as open green space. Now, if you're familiar with Romanelli and Hughes residential properties, they also have a lot of open green space for the homeowners, but one of the beautiful attributes of this property is its natural terrain, where we have a lot of beauty when it comes to a golf course being repurposed. And one of the design intents here is let's work with the setting that is there. Let's work with the mature trees, the terrain, the natural waterways, and see how we can gently create an impact into the property. The third attribute that we're really seeking to exemplify is a pedestrian and bicycle-focused neighborhood center. So we have a little bit of a break in the bike trail, and that's something we're looking to remedy. But community connectivity for pedestrian and bicycles is a main driver in this project as well. And then the final one is really what we're calling a new amenity for the overall community. Certainly there's a benefit for this neighborhood, but the inclusiveness and the engagement with the bigger village of Galena is important. So each of the areas you see towards the left or the west side of this property from north to south are all the home sites. And that's a variety of lots between 65, 70, 95, 100 foot. And then there'll be a wide range of custom homes throughout that area. The area we're going to concentrate mostly on tonight is what we're calling the neighborhood center. And so this is over on the right side at the intersection of Dustin Road and 3C, right near the bridge headed into the village. Now, I can click, or you need to? Sorry. when we look at any property, what we're really evaluating first is what's the beauty and benefit around us, and how can we find ways to exemplify that in the development and not create a burden to the context. We have a spectacular site when it comes to the natural topography and all that's offered on the north tip of Hoover. We also have this beautiful bird sanctuary and all of these bird components that are surrounding this property. We think Black Hawk is actually a big part of that because of the maturity of the existing landscape. And then lastly is the cycling component that happens throughout this site. Now, I'm a cyclist myself, and I ride this trail often. And I'll tell you, it's a little treacherous when you come to this spot. You come off of a beautiful scenic pathway. You have to risk yourself on some roads and then get back onto the trail. And one of the things we're going to share with you is how we sort of knit that wound in the path, and we really create a connection between the two ends. Let's go to the next slide. The next thing that we really looked at was your community. You have such a beautiful legacy and history of some really wonderful buildings, some of which are still here, some have passed. But when we've been looking at the legacy and history of the architecture, we think it's a really great way to create influence on the design direction where we're headed for this neighborhood center. What we're looking to end up having are things that are reminiscent, not necessarily replicas. There's some beautiful buildings that are on the screen that we think could really have great features and highlights in some of the buildings that we're going to be proposing. And the main three that I'm going to reference throughout the presentation are the ones at the bottom. So the one on the bottom left is called the Creamery. Some of you might know it or be familiar with it. Maybe some of you have been there. But that as a piece of architecture, I think is wonderful. There's a lot of characteristic pieces to it that we're going to share with you, how we might try to embody that into the architecture of the new development. The second is the depot. This really cute little depot building we've turned into a bit of a feature in the development as a focal point in the planning. And then lastly is this water tower. And so this water tower was sort of part of the rail system and this sort of pathway that used to come right through and adjacent to this site. But those three elements you're going to see kind of pop up as components in the rest of the presentation. Let's go to the next slide. So we're going to concentrate on three areas within this neighborhood center. And again, we're on the east side of that property from the 3C Road on that east edge, adjacent to Dustin Road on the top. Now we've highlighted two areas. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the one towards the bottom that's that larger shape. So we're not really looking for a specific quantity of buildings or a particular size of buildings. At this stage in a concept, we're really looking at placement and position within the site. So what we're showing in that area are owner-occupied, 3.5 to 4-story buildings that have a couple adjacent properties. So where we might have 4 units per building, let's say. Now, the reason we're locating them at this portion of the site is we have a couple of things that are really strongly to our advantage. Now, those buildings might be a little bit taller than some of the homes. They're a little bit larger in height. But what we've done is we've kind of nestled them along a hillside. So that tree line to the west is an existing, mature, graded hill that has large trees that are about 60 to 80 feet in height. So by placing these buildings that are at a little bit taller scale, what we do is we nestle them into that hillside, and the backdrop of the trees help us make those buildings feel right fitted to the site. If we were to put those out into a flat field, they'd feel a lot bigger and taller. When we talk about 3.5 or 4 stories, let me describe this sort of building. So again, these are owner-occupied, Romanellian Hughes built, so very high quality. Ground level is an entry and a garage. A second level is a living space. Third level is bedrooms, and then that upper attic space is really an advantage for this property. Now, the reason I say that is once you're up at that little bit higher position, the view you have is spectacular. So seeing over the reservoir, seeing the tree line, being within the canopy of trees as the backdrop, I think these could be really beautiful buildings that are right fit for this portion of the site. The other area I'm going to talk about is up on the northeast corner. Now, over there, we're looking at smaller scale buildings. So these are probably 2-3-story buildings. We'll call them flats. So again, owner occupied, Romanelli and Hughes built. So again, high quality. But we're also looking at different options. Do we consider these as a multifamily building, or maybe even something like a bed and breakfast, or another way to consider how we maybe populate this portion of the site? So I already got a no from someone, so we're taking notes on these comments. As we start to look at other sort of opportunities for residential components intermixed with this portion of the development, there's also the opportunity that we might consider what we would call a live workspace. So within one of the commercial buildings that I'll show you in a minute, do we have an office space on the ground level and a residence for the owner on the second level? So we're contemplating all sorts of different residential offerings. Let's go to the next slide. So this is an image from the air on the southeast portion of this end of the site, kind of looking back at kind of the road path and the density of some of these buildings. You see over to the left side, the townhouse buildings nestled against the trees, the other residential buildings up towards the northeast. But now we're going to start to kind of zoom in on a couple of these featured areas. One of the other key components that you see in this drawing is and we painted it green just so it's easy to see, there's this green pathway. Now that pathway serves as the connectivity between the walking and bike trails, and I'll show you some renderings of that in a second. But what we see is that path and walkway becomes that woven line that goes through the development, creates moments of engagement, but also allows that continuity as a walker or a cyclist. Let's go to the next slide. The second area I wanted to touch on is what we're calling the event lawn. And so this event lawn is on the axes of that main corner where we have a couple features that we're trying to highlight. So in the southeast corner of the development, it's the low portion of the site. So a lot of developers will tell you, hey, we have to deal with stormwater management. We have to deal with adding a bunch of ponds to any property to get the water to work. Well, one of the beauties of this site is it has a lot of kind of natural fall and terrain. So the stormwater works really well, but this is kind of the low corner of the site. So rather than putting in a manicured pond for detention that rises and drops, what we're looking at is creating this feature. So we're going to see some renderings of that water feature in a second. But as we go deeper into the site, this event lawn really serves as the community benefit. So whether it's for the neighborhood itself, the surrounding residents, or the bigger village, what we're doing is looking at how do we create an event space, an open green space that has connectivity to all of the buildings surrounding it, but also to a feature building on one end. Let's go to the next slide. So as we zoom in, you see the green space is surrounded by a combination of commercial buildings or residential buildings. But that purple building that we're showing on the end is what we're calling the bicycle or the performance depot. So this is the building that's reminiscent of the old Galena depot. And on one side, it opens to the green space, that event lawn. And on the other side, it serves as a bit of a rest stop on the bike trail. So that rest stop feature has a place to get out of the sun, a place to have a seat, take a break, bathrooms, bike service items. But on the east side, facing this lawn, what we have is an open space that could be set up for a musician. It could be set up for a farmer's market, a food truck event. There's a lot of different opportunities to be able to activate this space. Let's go to the next slide. So the other building is that creamery building. And so looking at the right portion of this rendering, we're thinking that this creamery building might be, the nostalgic view of the building, but repurposed in a way that it serves as an ice cream parlor, a food hall, someplace to have a reason to grab a bite to eat and then sit on the lawn. And you see the depot building over on the left, surrounded by some other of the residential and commercial buildings. Let's go to the next slide. So as we zoom in a little closer to that depot building on the left, you can see the size and scale of that event lawn serves as a nice open green space for a lot of different uses. Now, we're always looking at any of these community-based spaces at different time of year, but also different time of day. So this next view, let's go to the next one, is at night. Now, we have a lot of sensitivity to the impact that this development is going to have on the surrounding neighborhood. That means everything from, are we dealing with our stormwater in an effective way? Are we dealing with traffic in an effective way? But also, are we dealing with noise? Are we dealing with light in a way that we're being really good neighbors to everyone around us? But we also have a heightened degree of sensitivity here because going all the way back to those birds, we have a lot of conditions surrounding this site that our environmental impact is going to be a little heightened, and we want to make sure we're being sensitive to that. So really controlling lighting, controlling any acoustic noise that might come from this space is definitely something we're concentrating on. Let's go to the next slide. So this is a view from the west of that depot building. You see the backside of it has the rest spot for the cyclists and walkers. You can see the openness on the right side of the building, and the east facing is that area facing the event lawn. We create this connection between the different lengths of the current path. And next slide. The third area I wanted to share with you is what we're calling this commercial district. So these are smaller scale commercial buildings that right now we're thinking could be a wide variety of offerings. Nothing has been assigned. No one has signed up a lease. We're really kind of staging a creation of a planning strategy and then finding not only the right tenants or occupants for this development, but that are also beneficial to the bigger community. We're not looking to create competitive components to things that are already established here. And there's some, strategy that we'll all have to work through, and how do we make something that's successful for all. So I mentioned previously, this is the low point of the site, and you see over on the right, what we've done is we've created this iconic corner. So in this corner, we have this nostalgic version of the water tower. Now that water tower becomes somewhat of the icon of the development, the name, the brand, the sign, what you might call it. But it's also an active element that people can interact with. It gives us the way to deal with the storm water in a creative way that creates actually a nice aesthetic, and you'll see that in some renderings. The other buildings around it are being positioned and scaled and placed based on good pedestrian walkability. Let's go to the next slide. So when we zoom in, you can see that water tower feature that's sitting out in the water on the corner is on that alignment with the depot building of the event lawn that you see in the top middle off of the frame. Let's go to the next. So this is a view from the adjacent walkway, we'll call it the pier, looking back at the commercial buildings on either side. And again, these are indicative of maybe size and scale or materiality, level of quality. They're not designed for tenants quite yet. That will come at a later time. But what we're seeking is your sort of reaction to the concept. That there's a variety of architectural style, but all that are kind of appropriate and fitting for this residential development, the walkability, that you see, but are also creating unique and blended offerings for the bigger community. This view that you have looking to the west is going all the way back through that event lawn to the performance and bicycle depot. Let's go to, I think we have one more. And so this is stepping back just a little bit more, and this observation tower on the corner, what it does is it gives you kind of a destination. It gives you a moment to be able to rise up a little bit and be able to see the birds, see the water across the road. And it serves as this kind of iconic focal point that's driving the planning of the rest of this portion of the development. So as we started, this is the first concept. It's a vision, it's an idea. We're eager to gain your feedback. We're eager to hear your thoughts. I know we're planning to be back in front of you in the very near future with developed designs for buildings, incorporating a lot of your feedback that we're going to receive tonight. And we're anxious and eager to hear your thoughts. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Let's see if we can get the horn to stop here. Do you know what it was? A Cadillac outside? Anybody have a Cadillac? Okay, thank you. Okay, you guys want to come up to the mics here? If zoning commission has any questions to start with, be happy to let you guys ask those questions, and then we'll proceed with the residents. Okay, any residents who would like to come forward and address and ask questions, we'd have you come to this mic over here. If you could state your name and address, we'd love to entertain our residents now. Anybody? Careful with the stairs, sir.
My name is Mike Boye, B-O-Y-E, and my wife and I, we live at 9061 Dustin Road. And what I'd like to know is how many multifamily units does this development consist of? How many single-family units? And how many commercial units are involved in this? And then a second question is on the open space, this 35%. Does that include parking lot areas? Does that include the roads going through this development? But thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question. We don't have a set number of units or a breakdown of the different types of units at this point. We're still kind of going through the design. I mean, overall, we're probably going to end up with a little less density than we had at Arrowhead. We'll probably end up somewhere around 2.2 units to the acre overall. I think Arrowhead was closer to 2.5, maybe a little more, a little less. But we are focusing on providing kind of a mix of residential uses to serve kind of different segments of the population. Empty nesters, incorporating some kind of custom empty nester homes, some, executive homes on large lots. As Chris mentioned, the townhomes with, amazing views. And everything that we're planning here is owner occupied. So none of it is rental, just to be clear on that for everybody. On the open space, no, the open space would not include parking lots, streets, anything like that. The open space would just include everything that you see there that is ultimately being preserved, all of those stream areas, all of the areas, the large treat area to the south where the trail connection, the Ohio Erie Trail connection is ultimately going to come through. The large kind of hillside area that's treed, all of those areas, and then there's some small open space areas in each of kind of the single-family areas. Those are all included in that 35% open space, but we would not typically include any paved areas, any building areas, or houses, or even backyards or anything like that of somebody's lot in that overall open space. So that open space is going to be complete common open space, kind of open to anybody in the neighborhood.
I'll just add, the village zoning code, sir, does have a minimum requirement for open space, so we look at that pretty closely. It's an important part of our decisioning. Thank you for that.
I do have one question. I actually own a property that has a business that can also live there in Sunbury. It's a very tight little restriction. So my question is to you, if the business owner is allowed to have a rental upstairs, it has to be just to the business owner, not subletted, and they would have to live there as the owner, correct?
You're asking me that question?
Anybody.
I think right now what we're doing is really, we're looking at concepts, design. Hey, is this even an appropriate use? Are you okay with that use? And then as we get further, then we'll start dialing that in. You know, one of the things that Chris talked about is he talked about, forget about the number of buildings. That's right now they're placeholders. We're still in the process of designing our townhomes. I'm not sure how wide they're going to be. I'm not sure how many buildings they're going to be. So really what we wanted to get is just some feedback. Hey, we like this. I heard one person say we love the bed and breakfast, which is awesome. But we're just trying to get ideas and saying, hey, what are the uses that you like? What are the things that you like about this plan? And then we're going to start tailoring this and then fine tuning it as we come in front of you next. So again, more or less, hey,
Those will
is
be
this an
details.
appropriate use? If everyone is happy with that appropriate use, I think it's great. But then we can start dialing in some of those fine details.
Okay, thank you.
So on the east side of the commercial section, in between the two larger townhouses or apartment buildings, there's a little dark orange rectangle. I don't know if you can see it in that image. It's in between the two.
So there's no apartments. We'll start there.
You mean that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you? I don't know what that little tiny structure would be. It's not visible in any of the renderings. Is that supposed to be like the
It could-
mailbox?
I mean, it could potentially be a mail center. The truth is, we don't have a use for it right now. Again, we're just kind of
Yeah.
creating
Concept
conceptual
stage.
graphics. We will have to have mail centers for any kind of residential use, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
We're going to have mail centers in the single-family residential as well. So we'll have to, design those to kind of fit within the environment and what we want those to look like. If there's any townhome areas, we'll have the same thing. We'll need mail centers, those type of buildings there. So, right now it's just a building that kind of frames that drive, creates a focal point, but I don't think anybody's really said, hey, this is exactly what this is.
Okay. And then I've got a question about the Ohio to Erie Trail. Is there any intention on seeing if it's possible to continue the bridge across over top of Dustin Road?
I think that's something that we were definitely going to take a look at.
Okay.
I mean, there's going to be some engineering concerns with that and how that would work. But ideally, to get some separation, between that traffic would be a great idea.
Okay.
Could you keep it ADA compliant by doing that?
Well, that's part of the challenge.
Yeah.
How do you, how much room do we have to work with? How do you get
The slope and
an
everything,
ADA
yeah.
compliant ramp? Yeah, and some of it. I mean, we'll have to look at what the ADA compliance requirements are for something like that. Because I know outdoor spaces have a lot different requirements than building entries and different things. So there's a lot of things that will go into that ultimately. That's just gonna take a lot more investigation.
The other thing that we looked at when we looked at the plan itself, if you go to the that we talked about, that trail system connecting here, how do we bring that back through? And maybe it's a loop to get you on the major system here, maybe it's coming through here, but we're trying to get connectivity through the site. The same thing through here is you come across, we're trying to utilize this bridge, instead of going back onto the street and coming up, we've already been out there taking a look to see, hey, can we come right along that railroad bed and then connect in here? The other thing that we talked about is how do we bring a connection along the front and tie it into our commercial center and our recreational center as well. So putting paths along the front and then meandering them through to get back into this area so there's more connectivity for even neighboring communities too. So those are all things that we've been working
Jim,
on.
before you sit down,
Yeah.
can you also talk, since you're up, can you talk about access, all the access points in and out? Please.
So from this, we've got, this is about where the old clubhouse is, so this will be an access point into the community. If you look at how we've designed this site, everything over here is focused on our move down empty master buyer. So we've got a combination of 62 and 70 foot home sites that are going to be in here. These are our high-end ranch. There are our 62 foot lots. They're going to start probably around the 900s. Our 70s are probably 1.1. I can give you examples of communities where we've done this stuff throughout Central Ohio. But we really try to keep that separate from the rest of the community itself. And the reason why we do that is, with that buyer, they don't want to worry about little Tykes toys and kids, and they don't want to go into their community. It's going to be all self-sufficient community. We're going to have mow the yards, manicure, take care of everything in the community itself. And again, I can give you some examples of those. This is where we're going to have our estate two-story product. $3 million, $3 and up is not where we're going to be on those. It's an expensive site, expensive. It's going to be an unbelievable community. It's a flagship for us. So we look at this as an awesome opportunity from a Galena use standpoint, not only to supply Galena with, I think, something that's incredible, but also position us in a community where we can put our flag for our move-down empty nester, our two-story product, and even our townhomes, when we're talking about our townhomes, we're looking to incorporate elevators, and so it's going to be they're going to be high-end. So I think I answered that.
Second access point.
Is going to be down here, and then we're still working on the connections through the commercial component right now. It's in the infancy stage.
All right, any other resident like to come forward? Please do now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, she's coming down.
Hey guys, Mary Howard, 1765 South Galena. It's quite an interesting concept, and I love the brick and the bike paths and things like that. And just that you looks like you've incorporated a lot with the waterways and things like that, and come up with some neat ideas there. One of the and I can go on the good stuff, but I know you're here to hear the things that I might have questions about, so I just thought I'd throw those out to you. The 4 stories, that's a concern with fire and excess more ladder trucks and stuff. I don't know how that's gonna get addressed with the cost. I was hearing like they're like a couple $1 million now. So that's just something to think about. Also a concern about that, your concept of the residents and what Michelle was talking about, the resident owner and somebody living above it type thing. I know a lot of the communities that's creative. I just didn't know like how you would enforce that. And then Airbnb type, I know a lot of Airbnbs are like being banned in different communities and stuff because of noise regulations and stuff. And so I was just wanting to, I know this is going to be super upscale, and I'm just trying to keep it, like, these are just things that are going through my head. And so then the only other thing that I have a serious, like, because I haven't figured out how to pitch this and I want to know, is with the data center, like going in, like in the whole industrial complex, is that of any concern to this community and the effects of it? Because I love this piece of property and I want this to be the cornerstone of the community. So that's it. Thanks.
I mean, great questions. We appreciate the feedback. The 4-story, I think that's a good point. That's something that we're definitely going to have to look into and what the impacts and the requirements are from a fire standpoint. If that ends up becoming a limiting factor for us, it might force us to adjust. So we'll definitely have to get more information on that for you. And I don't want to step on Chris's toes because he's an architect, so he's probably a lot more used to dealing with this. But the live workspace, again, they're concepts at this point. We don't have a lot of details on what that would work, but a lot of those things are easily controlled through the deed restrictions and different ways that we can control those, the uses and the properties. And the Airbnb is, I think those are things we would definitely look to be limiting as well. When people buy a $1.3 million house, the last thing they want is an investor buying the house next to them and renting it out on a consistent basis. So there's definitely things that we can do, again, in the deed restrictions to control the use of those properties. The data center, I don't really have a good answer for that. We're not interested, obviously, on that type of use in this property. I don't know that it would have an impact if one were to go nearby. Well, for one, there's no available land right near where one could potentially go. So I don't think that would be a direct impact on the community. On the right farm, are you saying, or? Oh, that, I don't think that's going to be an issue for this community. It's far enough away. Certainly I understand a lot of people's concerns over data centers, but I think that's far enough away where it's not a concern for what we're doing from the development standpoint.
Hey, Garrett, I'll just mention on that topic of the rentals, if you will. Our HOA in Retreat at Dustin, we have short-term rental language in our HOA documents. So we should probably just make note to ensure we have something like that. I think that would be something across the board in the village we'd want to manage to.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
On my property that I do have that specification, it's in the lease that if you cannot sublet, and if you want to keep the business in there, then you do not sublet rental. You are the one that's going to be living there, or they forfeit the lease and their down payment. So,
Cool, my turn. Okay, so will there be any type of road crossing to connect to, I think it's Weiss Road? That's right across the street on South Old 3C. It's the one that goes by the water. Yeah, it is. It's the one that separates from Old 3C on the bottom right corner. Yeah.
Is that where where the bike path comes out currently?
Yes.
I'm not shy. All right, so this is where Weiss is coming out, right here.
Yeah.
So that's right on that hill too, so that'd be a really blind hill. That would be a
Yes.
really bad place to have it. And it doesn't, I don't know, maybe it looks like they do. But it looks like they're coming in where there's currently like a little guardrail down here, a little entrance thing.
So that's an entry point?
Yes.
That's an entry point right now.
You're thinking about it?
That cuts through here, but certainly, looking at road engineering, if it needs to adjust.
Yeah. Yeah, we probably have to make accommodations for that. I'm assuming, we're gonna have to do a lot of things in terms of, like the road connections. Obviously, we're gonna have to pull together a traffic study, kind of understand what the impacts are and what improvements will be needed. You know, we're gonna have to, from an engineering standpoint, we'll have to look at all of those connections and how they line up and what kind of the engineering concerns might be and those kind of things. So there's a lot of meat left on that bone, to, you know, use an old expression, but, you know, those are things, I think, detail-wise, that we're definitely going to have to dig into as we move forward.
Okay. I've got a couple more. Oh, we got, okay. She can go. I can wait.
Hi, my name's Melody Lundberg, and I live at 9087 Dustin Road. The corner around the railroad, where the bike path is already very dangerous. We live right around the corner on the long lane. Is there any thought as to what you would do? This is obviously going to create a lot more traffic there. And with all the cyclists and so forth, I think that would be a major concern. And also for us, those of us who live on Dustin, people come down that road very, very quickly. I would just ask, I don't know if it's speed bumps, a light, I don't know what. Is there an entry planned in that area?
Yeah, I mean, those are great questions, and I think we're aware of those things too. I mean, that's kind of a blind corner. You know, we realize that, and that all goes back to just kind of what I said earlier. There's you know, we're going to have to get with kind of a traffic study. We're going to have to look at that impact. We are going to have to, you know, we'll have an interest too in kind of slowing any traffic down on Dustin, you know, because you know, we're going to be trying to sell, well, not we, the royal we, are going to be trying to sell homes, you know, $1 million homes in that community. So they're going to want to make sure that that entrance and that road are safe for you as well as, you know, for the people that will buy there. So I think the traffic study will help us a lot, kind of understand what the impacts are and what we'll need to do to mitigate it. You know, maybe there's some sort of, you know, configuration of that curve or something like that where we can maybe open up some sight lines or, you know, create some way to kind of slow down traffic as it goes through there. I think there's a lot of things we can do. We just don't know what those things are quite yet.
I was going to say on this point, on the trail crossing, as an example,
Yeah.
Zach just brought up the bridge. If the bridge were usable, you'd solve some of that issue
Yes.
right there.
Yes.
If-
Well, we get a lot of that bike traffic off of Dustin Road is what we would do.
Right, you get that off Dustin Road, and if that's not possible, then maybe a speed table would be what we'd put there. The other thing is just a consideration. Tom Marshall, our village administrator, we've kind of already been kicking around how much of that responsibility for that road can we take over as a village? Because once we have the responsibility of something like that, we can apply home rule to it and adjust speeds and everything else. Right now, we don't have that authority to do that. So that's one of the things we're also wrestling with, is how much of that can we take over? Right? Does that help?
Yeah, thanks. One other question. Is there a community where something like this has been built that we could go see to get an idea of what it looks like?
I could create some examples. Yeah. Yes, we can provide that.
Are you looking more from a commercial, are you looking for more of the gathering center area? You're looking more for the homes?
The gathering center?
Okay. Yeah, we can put that together.
Thank you. Oh, back up.
If you may, I'd like to refer to the map.
Yeah, if you want to come over to the mic here, you don't have to go all the way over.
My question is, these will be the 4-story townhouses along this stretch of woods?
Nope.
No.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. And this middle section here, what are you planning for the middle section?
Those are the executive homes.
The executive homes?
Yep.
Can you give a little detail again on that?
2-story, $1.3 million custom homes.
So I'll say on a smaller scale, there's a community called Verona, and where we've mixed uses, where we have our move down empty nester product in the front of our community, and then we have our estate houses in the back. It's in Powell. So I say that because it's on a much smaller scale, but that's kind of how we've, you'll see some of the architecture. I don't know, did we bring any pictures of any of the architecture? Okay. In our next one, we'll have pictures of the architecture of what we're proposing. A lot of times we'll come in with We're going to spend time on theming of the community itself. So we'll fine tune some of the architecture in terms of what we'll do in those areas. But again, everything you see in that, we'll call it, I don't know, orange and to your left, that'll all be the move down empty nester section, which will be HOA maintained grass, so on and so forth, snow plowing. And then on the right will be all of our estate houses, similar to what you'll see in a community called Verona, but I can get that information for everybody.
Where's the 4-story townhouses you mentioned? That was this right here. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What did you say the name of that other community was in Powell?
Yeah, what was the,
Verona.
Verona.
Okay, thank you.
Verona.
Rona.
Perfect.
you want to go?
Go down, right? My name is Ken Gunn. I live at 101 Middle Street. I have a couple questions regarding this. The access to in and out of here off of Route 3, will there be turn lanes made available for left and rights? We're already starting to see a backup on our main drag going out on the 3 right now. You could sit there for 10 minutes trying to make somebody's making a left-hand turn in front of you. You can't get out. Is that something that would be included in the whole plan, or is that something that is for ODOT, or is that somebody else's problem?
No, it's a good question. I would, we haven't seen the results of the traffic study yet. The ODOT and the village makes us go through a very rigid process for traffic study, and it's very, very data-driven. So there's no kind of guesswork kind of involved in that traffic study. It's purely, the Ohio Manual of Traffic Safety gives you specific numbers. Here's how much traffic a single-family home generates. Here's how much traffic a commercial establishment generates. Here's how much traffic a townhome generates. And
Does
you have
that
to-
include the time involved in this traffic study? I mean, as far as getting in and out of a particular area or not? Does that have anything to do with the cars?
Yeah, it has everything to do with where cars travel, where they're coming from, where they're going to, which exit and entrance they're going to use, and how much traffic demand that's going to put on each of
Okay.
the additional streets. And a lot of times, I would imagine in a development like this, turn lanes are going to be required as part of that traffic study. Can't say for sure exactly what it's going to look like, because again, we don't have the traffic study done. But I have to imagine that with a development like this, there's going to be some requirements for, right-ins, right-outs, and even maybe coming out of the development, a right and a left.
Right.
So that, you can distribute traffic a lot more efficiently.
One other question for this.
Before you
now.
go there, just
Are any
on-
of these little, oh,
I was going to say on the same topic, Ken.
okay.
Folding into that whole
Okay.
question is where we're going to get a lot of interest and questions will be a light at Dustin and 3. Okay? So it's already treacherous. Folks that live on that corner know that. I understand the traffic study will look at that, but I think when we engage with you guys on the traffic study, we're going to want to incorporate the impact of the traffic study we just did on Arrowhead and put those together. Then I believe I'm correct in saying whatever comes out of the traffic study, you will do.
We will do, correct.
Right, okay.
Yep.
All right, just to make sure.
The other question I had you've got different communities there within the one whole community itself. Are any of these going to be gated at all? I mean, is there going to be a separation to where you don't have just people traveling around looking and that kind of a thing, or is it all just going to be open?
We'll have, I don't anticipate doing any gates. I try to avoid those. But as you drive through the community, when you come in and you take a right, there'll be pillars. They'll designate that you're going into, call it the villas at Black Hawk. If you come to the left, you're going, whatever we're going to call it. We'll have it themed, and we'll be calling different sections. But I don't anticipate doing any gates.
Okay. I
I've
didn't
done them
know.
before. I try to stay away
You're
from them.
talking $2 million homes or 150, 1.5s. People aren't really that crazy about having tourists
Yeah.
cruising their neighborhood, if they can help. The other thing is, the pictures are great, man. The only thing, it's beautiful. It really looks good. Only thing I'm a firm believer in, pictures always have a tendency to look a little bit better than what the final product is. So hopefully that won't be the situation here.
Hey, Ken, you're my neighbor. He's my neighbor. He mows my grass because I store his mower because his wife doesn't want me to. Thank you. But Ken, go see the, was it in Pal, the Verona properties? We'll take a field trip, yes. We'll get a bus or something.
Mayor, would the Miller Farm traffic study also need incorporated?
Well, that was incorporated into the overall traffic study for Arrowhead.
that's
So
right.
we,
Okay, yeah.
we take it all in at the same time
All right.
if we incorporate that one.
Thank you. Just
So
trying to
Miller
get it in here for
Farm,
the
Arrowhead,
minutes.
would roll into the Blackhawk study.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else in the audience? Teresa?
Great, thank you. Teresa Stats, 687 Fescue. Where does the bike trail connect to the bottom of that property? You know, where it crosses
Yeah.
Plum Road?
So we're looking at a couple of different options, but, so if you recall off Plum Road, which Plum Road is just kind of down here, it's not quite shown on the map. So Plum Road, you have the kind of the trailhead, and that's where kind of the access to this railroad bed got cut off. And it kind of forces you over and then down here and kind of back over and then I think along maybe up Dustin Road to get back to that trail. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out, is there an efficient way to kind of reroute that so either A, you don't have to go all the way through here, or if we can't make this work for some reason, we're going to go out and actually walk that probably next week. Just take a look at the condition of that railroad bed and see if there's a way that we can get that bike path back to here.
Great.
And, the goal, if we did that, we would just run it down this railroad bed, kind of run along, and we would figure out a way to get it from here over to here and up,
Great.
up there. If not, what we would do is try to find a way to more efficiently get it from where it ends here, kind of through our site and up, so that you don't have to at least ride on Dustin Road.
But it's a dangerous one.
Yeah.
Going out the trail, both on the Dustin and on the White Road, and where you're going, you
Right.
knock out that.
And
Yeah,
it's,
our goal would be to clean that up if we can.
I mean, the preferred, as a cyclist, the preferred thing would be to take that straight across Plum if you can. I looked at the auditor's website for that particular property, and it looks like you have the right-of-way of that up through there from Plum Road.
Yeah, we have a very, very limited connection point to Plum Road. I don't know if part of that goes across the Miller Farm, because again, this doesn't kind of go all the way down here, so I'll
It doesn't.
I'll have to take a closer look at that.
Right.
But,
Right.
if we have access to it again, and we can figure out a way to make that work, I think the preference would be kind of figure out how to get it through there.
So
As a
Gar-
cyclist, that would be much, much safer, because right now they've got them turning out of Plum Road, going down to that parking lot, and you have no berm, and you have a narrow road on Plum Road. It's dangerous for cyclists, it's
Yeah.
dangerous for runners and walkers as well.
Yeah, I come through Plum Road all the time, because I kind of live out this way as well, and every time I come through,
It's
you always
bad.
have to drive very kind of slowly, because there's always people coming off the bike trail and going down
Great.
Plum Road, yeah.
Great.
So-
And I'll say from a selfish standpoint, we are trying to funnel traffic into our community to get on the trail path. So it's going to be a focus of ours.
You'd have cyclists coming from Cincinnati to Cleveland, so there you
Great.
go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all good business for the commercial.
Sir?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Trent Lundberg, 9087 Dustin Road, and I'm also the owner of Backroom Coffee Roasters with my wife Melody. And so my question regards the commercial space and what kind of tenants that you are considering. You had mentioned that you don't want to have competing businesses to what's already in place in the village. We are a wholesale roastery, and we started in the back room of a Trek bicycle store in Upper Arlington back in 2010. Got strong, deep roots in cycling community, and we're thinking about possibly doing a partnership as far as a multi-use bike shop, coffee shop, kayak rental, kind of an outdoor enthusiast type of one-stop shop for everything, and would
So
like
you're
to
looking
talk to
for
you.
space, is what I just heard.
Correct, correct.
It sounds like you're looking for an
Seems like it would
architect,
be
too.
a perfect fit for us, very intriguing, would love to talk to
Yeah.
you and learn more.
That little building that Zach was talking about, that's,
I think we're gonna need a bigger one than that.
we had it all figured out for you.
Yeah, but as far as the bike path access, we deal with that every single day. You know, being a cyclist, and I can certainly sympathize with all the traffic that comes blowing up and over past Weiss Road into the intersection there at Dustin. It's very, very dangerous. So anything that you're able to do to, you know, improve that access through that piece of woods there on the southern chunk would be fantastic. Yeah.
You make a great point, and one of the benefits to this process when we start with a conceptual vision, you know, we're designing buildings without an occupant, without a tenant, without a real owner. It's sort of fictitious. What's nice to go through this process is now you start to create real buildings that are purpose-driven around someone like you and your business that might be a good, viable participant.
Well, and also be a good steward to the community and bringing value added, you know, not only just selling, but something where we're bringing in attractions that people are also, you know, spending their revenue, their dollars in the village in other capacities.
So what it really does for us on the design side is it helps us create authentic buildings that are purpose-driven,
Right.
not fictitious buildings that we cross our fingers and hope someone will rent. So
Right.
the timing is really perfect to be in the creative stage of how this might develop to really make things that are driven towards actual tenants, actual
I
occupants.
would love to talk to you more.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trent. Yeah, as the mayor, maybe I could put a little more emphasis on, a final emphasis on the trail connection. 2 years ago, we had what could have been a catastrophic accident of a biker, of a long time resident in the village on that exact spot. One of the problems, obviously, is it moved up to 55 mile an hour very quickly going southbound. And they're coming in 55 mile an hour going, I guess that's northbound, right? When people trying to cross that road, we had a near fatal issue. Now, I worked with the county engineering office to move the 35 mile an hour sign further down the road. But as you guys know, that's a county road, and there's not much more we can do from a home rule standpoint. So I'll just emphasize, we'll be looking, I think, pretty closely at the solution for how to connect the trail so we can eliminate that altogether, that kind of an issue. And there's probably more than one way to skin the cat, but yeah, just to emphasize that. Yeah, thank you.
Completely agree.
Anyone else?
Hi, folks. I live in the estates at Blackhawk, and I moved in there in 2020. My wife and I watched the evolution of the golf course property back in 2019. Thrilled with what you got here. This looks great. I'm also on the mayor's safety and security committee, and as you've heard from the entire crowd that's in the room tonight, there's a serious sightline issue, traffic management issue, we'll call it that. Those are my concerns. I love the feel of how you've got the community laid out. We have serious problems with Dustin Road from State Route 3 to Old 3C Highway and coming south as the bicyclists now. So those are my concerns. And I know this is very preliminary stuff, but that's the emphasis you can expect to hear, at least from me anyway. So, Great work, I love it, thanks.
I appreciate it. And that's been, I mean, I can say, I can't count how many times Vince and I have driven that site, looking for ideas, certainly want to repurpose that bridge, to try to find a way to take at least some of the pedestrian stuff off. How do we soften those corners? And that'll come down to the engineering, but it's definitely a focus for us,
Sight lines
because
are treacherous.
there are residents as well.
Yeah.
So we're not just a part of the community, these are my
The
residents.
sight lines are crazy, all the way across Dustin, about every corner you want to turn there, there's a challenge of some sort.
Okay, I've got one last thing since most of my other questions got answered.
One last?
Yeah.
I just wrote that down.
So,
What's a 4-part question?
yeah.
And the 4 parts are broken into separate subsections.
I would request that somewhere on this development, you have some type of trailhead where it's got a parking lot to direct access to the Ohio to Erie, since that's a huge part, to where we've got the depot lot on Walnut Street. But I'm assuming a bunch of people would want to go here, use this commercial center, and then go biking. Just southwest, here, I'm going to go up and I'll go point at things. So just to emphasize, this black line right here, down here, this is all Columbus land. So I know you couldn't do anything here, but you might want to think about putting in something right next to this entrance way. Because this is the land Ohio to Erie, right? So you might want to have some type of entrance and parking lot that directly connects to this. So that way you've got some safe spot for everyone to come in and out of if they want to directly come to bike on the Ohio to Erie. Because right now our depot lot on Walnut Street gets a fair amount of traffic, but it doesn't have a commercial section right next to it. Or you could even put it somewhere near the commercial section if you so choose.
I think the,
Yeah.
right, the interest is to bring that waypoint in and activate the neighborhood center and not create more traffic or congestion or confusion right at that entry. So the connection and the ease of access is absolutely a priority. The position, I think, a
Yeah,
little more
that can
within the
move.
development makes sense.
I recommend putting some dedicated spot for trail usage.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great point.
Thank you, Zach. Okay, we're going to have many, many more opportunities to get a bite at this apple. I want to just thank the Romanelli team for coming in early before all the formal activities get going. Thank you for the initiative and the effort to do that. Thank you for people who have come out and asked questions. We are going to take a quick 5-minute break so you guys can, pull out, and then we'll continue the meeting. We'll get back together at 10 after.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments.
Well, they're flat.
In time.